First, protection for vulnerable victims. We want to provide stronger protection for those who cannot protect themselves. First, we will enhance maximum punishments for offences committed against such victims. And second, we will introduce new offences where such victims are abused. The first category of vulnerable victims, children below 14 years. Secondly, vulnerable persons due to mental or physical disabilities. And third, domestic workers. Penalties for all offences in the Penal Code committed against these vulnerable victims will be enhanced up to twice the maximum punishment prescribed for these offences. Members of this House will remember the case of Annie E. Annie had low IQ. She lived with her so-called close friends. They abused her by beating her daily. They made her do all the household chores. They kept her salary. Annie was not capable of protecting herself. And she suffered for 8 months, and then she died. With the new amendments, if a person like Annie is assessed to be substantially unable to protect herself, then her abusers will be liable up to twice the maximum punishment. They will be charged for the offense of voluntarily causing grievous hurt, so up to 20 years imprisonment. This is in Clause 17 of the bill. All Penal Code offences committed against such vulnerable persons will be made arrestable, regardless of whether the underlying offense is itself arrestable. That will allow the police to intervene quickly. Penalties will also be enhanced for specific offences committed against persons who are in an intimate or close relationship with the offender, even if they are not married. PAVE is a VWO, works closely with a variety of other agencies, including the government. They told me about this case, which was one of the reasons why I decided we ought to change the law here. They helped a lady by the name of Cindy. Cindy had suffered horrific abuse from her live-in partner. She was found by the police in the year 2000, almost completely blind, slash wounds all over her body, broken bones, had suffered horrific sexual abuse over the 8 years. Quite unspeakable. Her 2 young children she had with the abuser witnessed all of this abuse. It took place almost daily. In many serious domestic abuse cases, the abuser exploits the trust of the victim to abuse them. Victims find it often difficult to leave such partners due to the emotional and psychological manipulation which is frequently found in such relationships. So if the offender commits specific offenses, rape, wrongful confinement, causing hurt against intimate partners, or those in close relationship, the offender will be subject to twice the maximum penalties that are normally prescribed for such offenses. These amendments will mean such perpetrators who abuse victims, where the victims trust and depend on them, the abusers will face much more severe punishments. These amendments must be read or looked at together with the proposed amendments to the Protection of Harassment Act, Protection from Harassment Act, POHA, which will be coming up for second reading tomorrow. It means that such intimate partners can get PPOs on an expedited basis, and their perpetrators will get more severe penalties. Because previously, only married partners can apply for PPO under the Women's Charter. Now, under the proposed amendments to POHA, the timelines for getting a PPO will be comparable to that under the Women's Charter. So intimate partners, usually women who are in a relationship but not married, who fear violence, this is a significant step to giving them greater protection. Again, based on parliamentary rules, I cannot go too much into detail on POHA, but my intention is that it must be fast, it must be quick, they must be able to get remedies, and my colleague Edwin Tong will take Parliament through POHA tomorrow. But the Penal Code, the new offences in respect of abuse of vulnerable victims, which lead to death or other forms of grievous hurt, will also be introduced. But going back to intimate partners, therefore, on the one side, offences to be made arrestable and the penalties to be enhanced, and on the other side, easier access to protection orders. Of course, there is the underlying psychological problem is that if the woman doesn't want to leave and continues to suffer the abuse, then our agencies will have to try and find a way, the VWOs will have to try and find a way of identifying these women, usually women, and then encourage them to take the steps.